The massive Alliance ship hung in Earth's orbit like a gleaming silver needle, its surface reflecting the golden sunlight. Inside the United Nations conference room, Admiral James Williams stood tall, his weathered face showing no sign of the tension he felt. Beside him, Max, his loyal German shepherd, sat alert and dignified. "You wish to bring that creature aboard our vessel?" The Alliance representative, a tall being with metallic blue skin, looked down at Max with obvious distaste. "We do not allow primitive biological companions in our diplomatic missions." Williams kept his voice steady. "Max goes where I go. He's not just a pet. He's my partner and a trained military dog." The room fell silent. Other Alliance members, their forms varying from nearly human-like to distinctly alien, exchanged glances that seemed both amused and concerned. Their own mechanical companions, sleek robots designed for perfect efficiency, stood motionless along the walls. "Your Earth customs are interesting," the lead representative said, choosing words carefully. "But surely you understand that in the greater galaxy, keeping animals for companionship is seen as a mark of an underdeveloped species." Williams felt his jaw tighten, but years of diplomatic training kept his expression neutral. "Then consider this a chance to learn about Earth's ways. Max stays." After much debate and several calls to their superiors, the Alliance finally agreed, though their disapproval was clear. As Williams and Max boarded the transport ship, he could hear the aliens muttering about primitive emotional attachments and wasteful biological resources. The journey to the Alliance's flagship was filled with uncomfortable silences and curious stares. Max remained calm, his training showing in every controlled movement. While Alliance members avoided the pair, their robotic companions seemed oddly interested in Max, their sensors frequently scanning him. The flagship itself was a marvel of engineering, a city-sized vessel that served as the Alliance's mobile headquarters. As Williams and Max were led to their quarters, they passed countless aliens of different species, all united in their puzzled looks at the dog. "Your living space has been modified to accommodate the animal," their guide said, barely hiding his disgust. "We expect you to keep it contained." The quarters were spacious but sterile, clearly designed with Alliance aesthetics in mind. A small area had been hastily converted into what they assumed a pet space should be, complete with badly designed approximations of Earth pet items. That evening, as Williams sat at his desk reviewing diplomatic protocols, Max's ears suddenly perked up. The dog moved to the door, his posture alert but not aggressive. Moments later, a soft knock came. It was Dr. Blue, one of the Alliance's lead scientists. Unlike the others, his expression held curiosity rather than disdain. "May I enter? I find myself intrigued by your companion," he said, eyes fixed on Max. Williams nodded, and Max calmly watched the scientist enter. Dr. Blue moved with careful precision, his long fingers holding some sort of scanning device. "Our records show that Earth's dogs evolved alongside humans," Dr. Blue said. "Yet they maintain their own distinct intelligence. Most fascinating." He paused, studying his readings. "This one, he watches everything. Not like our mechanical companions that simply process data. He understands." "That's right," Williams said. "Dogs have been our partners for thousands of years. They can read our emotions, predict our needs, and work with us in ways no machine could." Dr. Blue tilted his head, a gesture Williams had learned meant deep thought among his species. "Perhaps," he began, but was interrupted by his communicator chirping urgently. "We will speak more of this," Dr. Blue said, heading for the door. "There is something about your Earth pets that doesn't match our understanding of simple animals." As the scientist left, Williams scratched behind Max's ears. "Well, boy," he said quietly, "looks like we might have one ally up here." Max wagged his tail once, his eyes never leaving the door. Something in his posture told Williams that their adventure aboard the Alliance flagship was just beginning, and that the universe might soon learn why humans had kept dogs by their side for so long. The Alliance flagship's observation deck buzzed with activity as various officials gathered to evaluate Earth's potential membership. Williams stood at attention, Max as always by his side, while the Alliance Council members discussed Earth's various qualities and shortcomings. Their technology is primitive, noted one council member, his crystalline form catching the light. They still rely on combustion engines for many vehicles. And their attachment to biological companions is concerning, added another, gesturing toward Max. Resources wasted on maintaining non-productive life forms. As the discussion continued, Max's attention suddenly shifted. His ears twitched forward, and he turned to stare intently at a particular section of the deck's massive viewing window. Williams, used to trusting his dog's instincts, watched carefully. Moments later, alarms blared. "Minor gravitational disturbance detected," announced the ship's eye. Automatic course correction initiated. Dr. Blue, who had been quietly observing from the side, stepped forward. "Fascinating. The animal detected the anomaly before our sensors." He moved closer to Max, recording device in hand. "How did you know?" The council members, who had been dismissing Earth's pets as useless just moments before, fell silent. Williams noticed several of them exchanging meaningful glances. Over the next few days, Dr. Blue conducted a series of tests. He set up controlled environments where various anomalies were created, mixing in normal situations as control cases. Max's accuracy in detecting problems was remarkable. "The dog's sensory capabilities exceed our understanding," Dr. Blue reported to the council. "It's not just about superior hearing or smell. There's something more fundamental at work." During one particular test, Max's behavior proved even more interesting. Instead of just detecting the anomaly, he actively tried to guide Williams away from certain areas and toward others. When they analyzed the data, they found he had mapped out the safest path through a complex gravitational field. "This goes beyond simple instinct," Dr. Blue explained, displaying holographic data. "The animal appears to have an intuitive understanding of spatial dynamics that our most advanced computers can't match." The council remained skeptical, but they couldn't ignore the results. More tests were ordered, each more complex than the last. Max performed consistently well, showing abilities that defied the Alliance's previous understanding of Earth's animals. During one session, an unexpected power fluctuation caused several of the Alliance's robotic companions to malfunction. While the machines struggled to adapt, Max calmly led Williams and several council members to a safe area, avoiding all the affected power conduits. "Perhaps," said one council member slowly, "we have been too quick to dismiss Earth's biological companions." Dr. Blue's excitement grew with each successful test. "We need to understand how they do this. It could revolutionize our approach to space navigation." However, not everyone was convinced. The head of the Alliance's Artificial Intelligence Division argued that it was all coincidence or, at best, simple pattern recognition that could be replicated by machines. "Then explain this," Dr. Blue challenged, showing recordings of Max's reactions. "The dog doesn't just detect problems. He understands context. He knows when to alert us and when to stay quiet. He makes judgment calls that our eye still struggles with." As the debate continued, Williams noticed Max becoming increasingly alert. The dog's behavior had changed subtly. He was spending more time watching the space outside the ship, his posture tense but controlled. "Something's bothering him," Williams mentioned to Dr. Blue. "I've seen this before, usually before major storms back on Earth." Dr. Blue made a note, his expression thoughtful. "Perhaps we should run a deep scan of the surrounding space, if your companion is detecting something." Before he could finish, Max let out a low growl, not aggressive, but warning. The sound echoed in the suddenly quiet observation deck, and even the most skeptical council members found themselves turning to look where the dog was staring. Something was coming, and Max knew it before any of their advanced technology could detect it. The Alliance was about to learn just how valuable an Earth dog could be. In his makeshift laboratory aboard the Alliance flagship, Dr. Blue hunched over arrays of holographic displays, his metallic blue fingers dancing through streams of data. Max lay alert nearby, while Williams watched the increasingly excited scientist. "These readings are extraordinary," Dr. Blue announced, enlarging one particular data set. "Your dog isn't just detecting anomalies. He's mapping them in ways our sensors can't." The lab's walls displayed a complex web of spatial distortions that only became visible after they processed Max's reactions through specialized equipment. What appeared as empty space to both humans and Alliance technology was apparently a rich tapestry of information to Earth's dogs. "Look here," Dr. Blue pointed to a particular pattern. "3 ships disappeared in this sector last month. Our investigations found nothing, but according to these readings," he overlaid Max's sensory data, "there's a clear disturbance pattern." Williams stepped closer to the display. "You're saying Max can see whatever's causing ships to vanish?" "Not exactly see," Dr. Blue corrected. "It's more like instinct. Dogs evolved on Earth, detecting subtle changes in their environment. Somehow, that ability extends to space itself." Their discussion was interrupted by an urgent message. Another Alliance vessel had vanished, this time in a supposedly secure sector. The Council demanded immediate answers. In the emergency meeting that followed, Dr. Blue presented his findings. Earth's dogs possess a natural ability to detect spatial anomalies that our technology misses completely. We've confirmed this through multiple tests. The Council chamber erupted in skeptical murmurs. The head of Alliance Security, a tall being with sharp features, stood up. "You expect us to believe that primitive Earth animals can outperform our advanced sensor arrays?" As if in answer, Max suddenly stood, his attention fixed on the massive viewing window. Dr. Blue quickly activated his recording equipment. The readings showed a complex pattern of distortions in the seemingly empty space. "There," Dr. Blue said triumphantly, "a spatial anomaly our sensors can't detect. But Max knows it's there." The security chief remained unconvinced. Coincidence, or perhaps the animal is reacting to something else entirely. "Then explain this." Dr. Blue projected a series of overlapping maps. "Every ship disappearance in the past 3 months. Now watch." He added a layer showing the patterns Max had detected. The correlation was undeniable. "These distortions," he continued, "they're like invisible currents in space. Our ships are being caught in them, but we can't see them. Earth's dogs can sense these currents naturally." The Council chamber fell silent as the implications sank in. If Dr. Blue was right, they had discovered something that could revolutionize space travel safety. But the real breakthrough came when they began studying how Max processed this information. It wasn't just detection. The dog showed an intuitive understanding of how these spatial anomalies flowed and interacted. "It's like he can feel the shape of space itself," Dr. Blue explained, growing more excited. "Think about how dogs navigate on Earth. They don't just sense their environment. They understand it in ways we're only beginning to grasp." As they delved deeper into the research, reports of missing ships continued to increase. Whatever was causing these disappearances was becoming more active, and the Alliance's traditional detection methods remained blind to it. "We need to move quickly," Dr. Blue urged the Council. "These patterns Max is detecting, they're growing stronger and more complex. Something is coming." The Council remained divided. While the evidence was compelling, the idea of relying on Earth animals for space navigation seemed absurd to many members. But as Williams watched Max studying the space beyond the viewing window, he knew his dog sensed something important. The Alliance might not fully believe yet, but soon they would have no choice. "Keep watching, boy," he whispered to Max. "Show them what Earth dogs can do." The dog's tail moved once in acknowledgement, his eyes never leaving the seemingly empty space where only he could detect the gathering storm. The Alliance flagship's emergency alarms shattered the artificial night cycle, their piercing wail echoing through every corridor. On the bridge, chaos erupted as reports flooded in from multiple sectors. 3 more colonies gone dark, shouted one officer, their holographic displays flickering with red warning signals. No distress calls, no readings. They're just gone. Williams burst onto the bridge with Max at his side. The dog's posture was rigid, his ears forward and alert. Dr. Blue was already there, frantically analyzing data streams. "They're appearing everywhere," the security chief announced, his voice tight with tension. "Massive ships, unlike anything in our database. They're emerging from nowhere." The main view screen showed dozens of attack points. Massive vessels, dark and angular, seemed to materialize from empty space, striking Alliance worlds without warning. The Alliance's advanced early warning systems had failed completely. "Our sensors still can't detect them until they're practically on top of us," an officer reported. "It's like they're using the blind spots we never knew existed." Max suddenly growled, moving to a specific spot on the bridge. Dr. Blue immediately activated his recording equipment, but before he could analyze the readings, the flagship shuddered violently. "Multiple hostile ships." The tactical officer's voice cracked. "They just appeared off our port side. Our shields weren't ready." The enemy vessels were enormous, their surfaces seeming to bend light around them. Traditional Alliance targeting systems struggled to maintain lock, and their weapons seemed to pass through empty space where the enemy ships appeared to be. "They're using the spatial anomalies," Dr. Blue realized, watching Max's behavior. "The same distortions we've been studying. They're not just hiding in them, they're traveling through them." The flagship rocked with another hit. More reports poured in of Alliance worlds going dark. Their mighty fleet, the most advanced in known space, was being torn apart by an enemy they couldn't properly detect or engage. "Emergency council session," the security chief ordered, all surviving fleet commanders to attend virtually. The council chamber, usually a place of ordered debate, now crackled with fear and urgency. Holographic representations of fleet commanders flickered in and out as their ships fought for survival. "Our capital worlds are under attack," one commander reported, his hologram distorting. "We can't track them, can't predict where they'll appear. Our defense grids are useless." Throughout the session, Max moved around the chamber, his attention shifting from point to point. Dr. Blue tracked every movement, comparing it to spatial scan data. "Look at this," he suddenly exclaimed. "The dog. He's mapping their movement patterns. He can sense where they're using the spatial distortions." The security chief, who had dismissed Dr. Blue's research earlier, now watched Max intently. "Can we use this? Turn it into tactical data somehow?" "Maybe," Dr. Blue said, "but we'd need to completely redesign our sensor systems. Build them around the way dogs perceive these anomalies instead of our traditional detection methods." Another massive shockwave rocked the flagship. "We don't have time for redesigns," Williams stated firmly. "We need a solution now." Max barked suddenly. 2 sharp, clear sounds. On the main display, 2 enemy ships appeared exactly where he had been looking moments before. "Wait," Williams said. "An idea forming. We don't need to redesign our sensors. We need to let Max guide our fleet directly." The suggestion was met with stunned silence. Let an Earth dog command Alliance warships. It seemed absurd. But as another wave of attacks decimated their forces, desperation began to override skepticism. "How would we even do that?" the security chief asked. Dr. Blue's eyes lit up. "The neural interface systems we use for our robotic companions. We could modify them. Create a way for Max to communicate spatial awareness directly to our ships." As if understanding, Max moved to stand in the center of the council chamber, his bearing almost regal. Around them, the Alliance's mighty civilization was under attack from an enemy they couldn't fight, unless they were willing to trust in something they had called useless just days before. The security chief looked at the dog, then at the reports of continuing devastation. "Do it," he ordered. and pray this works. Dr. Blue's laboratory had transformed into a hub of frantic activity. Engineers and scientists worked around the clock, modifying neural interface systems, while the sounds of distant battles echoed through the flagship's hull. Careful with those connections, Dr. Blue instructed as they fitted Max with a specially designed interface collar. We need perfect synchronization between his sensory input and our systems. Williams watched anxiously as they worked. Max sat perfectly still, showing remarkable patience as the Alliance's best minds essentially built a bridge between canine instincts and advanced alien technology. The challenge isn't just reading his senses, Dr. Blue explained, adjusting delicate neural pathways. It's translating them into data our ships can use. Dogs don't think in numbers and coordinates. They feel space. The first test nearly overloaded their systems. When they activated the interface, the flood of sensory information from Max was overwhelming. The dog perceived space in ways their computers had never been programmed to understand. It's like trying to translate a language that uses colors instead of words, one frustrated engineer said, rubbing their eyes. He's not just detecting the anomalies, he's feeling how they flow, how they connect. But they didn't have time for perfection. Another Alliance world had gone dark, and the enemy ships were getting bolder, striking closer to core systems. We need to simplify, Williams suggested. Stop trying to translate everything Max senses. Focus on the essential, where the enemy is, where they're going to be. Dr. Blue nodded, making rapid adjustments. Yes, yes. Instead of processing all sensory data, we create a basic tactical interface. Let Max show us directly. The next test produced something usable. When they activated the modified system, a new kind of tactical display appeared. It wasn't the precise, geometric patterns the Alliance was used to. Instead, it showed space the way Max perceived it. Flowing currents of distortion, places where the fabric of space ran deeper or thinner. Look, Dr. Blue pointed excitedly. These patterns, they're what the enemy ships are using to move undetected. Max can see they're highways through space. The security chief, who had been watching the tests, stepped forward. Can we use this to predict where they'll appear? As if in answer, Max turned his head sharply to one side. On the tactical display, they watched as one of the spatial currents he had identified began to ripple. Moments later, their conventional sensors screamed a warning as enemy ships emerged exactly where Max had indicated. That's it, Dr. Blue exclaimed. We don't need to understand everything he senses. We just need to trust his instincts. They worked through the night, refining the interface. Max remained focused, seeming to understand the importance of his role. Occasionally, he would give a soft whine, drawing their attention to new patterns forming in space. When they finally presented the system to the full council, the demonstration was dramatic. Max, wearing the refined interface collar, guided them through a map of nearby space that none of their instruments could detect. These are all active transit corridors, Dr. Blue explained, showing how the enemy ships move through the distortions. And here, Max has identified likely emergence points. The council members watched in astonishment as Max's predictions proved accurate again and again. The dog could sense not just where the enemy was, but where the spatial currents would carry them. We need to implement this fleet-wide, the security chief declared. Every command ship needs to be able to receive this data. No, Williams said firmly. Max needs to be on the flagship, coordinating directly. This isn't just about the data. It's about his understanding of how to use it. As the council debated, Max suddenly became more alert. Through the interface, they watched as he detected a massive movement in the spatial currents. Something big was coming. Time's up, Williams announced. We need to decide now. Do we trust him to guide our fleet? The council looked at their tactical displays, showing the approaching enemy, then at Max, standing calm and ready despite the chaos around him. The vote was unanimous. Earth's useless pets were about to take command of the most advanced fleet in known space. The Alliance flagship's bridge hummed with tense energy. At its center, Max stood on a raised platform, the neural interface collar glowing softly. The dog's every movement was instantly translated into tactical data, feeding directly to the fleet's command systems. Enemy formation detected, the tactical officer announced. They're using the largest spatial distortion we've seen yet. Through Max's interface, they watched as swirling patterns of invisible currents showed the enemy's approach. Unlike their normal sensor displays, this view revealed the complex web of spatial highways the hostile ships used. Multiple emergence points predicted. Dr. Blue called out, monitoring Max's sensory feed. They're trying to surround us. Williams stood beside Max, watching his companion guide the most advanced fleet in known space. Distribute Max's tactical data to all ships, he ordered. Let them see what he sees. The enemy struck first, their massive ships materializing from seemingly empty space. But this time, the Alliance was ready. Following Max's guidance, their ships were already moving to intercept. It's working. The security chief's voice carried rare excitement. We're actually hitting them now. Max's perception of space allowed the Alliance fleet to target where the enemy ships would be, not where they appeared to be. Their weapons found their marks, proving these mysterious attackers weren't invincible after all. The enemy, realizing they'd lost their advantage of surprise, changed tactics. They began shifting through spatial distortions more rapidly, trying to confuse Alliance targeting systems. But Max adapted quickly. His natural instincts, honed by thousands of years of evolution to track moving prey, proved perfectly suited to following the enemy's complex maneuvers. Through the interface, the entire fleet could now anticipate the hostile ship's movements. They're trying to form up for another attack, Dr. Blue reported, watching Max's reactions. But look, he's already identified their rally points. The dog's ears twitched forward, and the tactical display shifted to show new patterns forming. The Alliance fleet, following his guidance, moved to block the enemy's gathering points before they could fully emerge. Multiple hostile ships disabled, came the report. We're actually pushing them back. The battle continued for hours. Max never lost focus, his innate ability to track and predict movement patterns proving more valuable than the most sophisticated Alliance computer systems. When the enemy tried to slip through smaller spatial distortions, he sensed those too, allowing the fleet to close these escape routes. Watch this, Dr. Blue pointed to a new pattern forming in Max's tactical display. He's not just reacting now, he's herding them. It was true. Like a sheepdog guiding a flock, Max was helping the fleet push the enemy ships away from Alliance space, forcing them into areas where the spatial distortions were weaker. The enemy commanders, realizing their secret advantage was gone, began to retreat. But Max wasn't finished. His tactical data showed them the locations of the spatial doors the enemy needed to escape through. All ships target these coordinates, the security chief ordered, following Max's guidance. Don't let them establish stable exit points. The Alliance fleet's coordinated fire disrupted the enemy's retreat routes, forcing them to withdraw in disarray. Ships that had seemed ghost-like and untouchable mere hours ago were now being driven back in defeat. As the last enemy ships disappeared, a cheer went up across the bridge. Max finally relaxed his vigilant posture, though his eyes still tracked the space where the enemy had vanished. Get me damage reports from all sectors, the security chief ordered, but his tone was lighter than it had been in days. And someone get that dog whatever Earth treats he wants. Dr. Blue was already analyzing the battle data. This changes everything, he said excitedly. The way he predicted their movements, sensed their patterns. We need to completely rethink our approach to space combat. Williams knelt beside Max, giving him a well-deserved pat. Good boy, he said softly. You just showed the galaxy what Earth dogs can do. The Alliance had won its first major victory against the mysterious enemy, thanks to an Earth pet they had once dismissed as useless. But as Max's alert posture indicated, this was just the beginning. There would be more battles to come. and now they had a new way to fight them. 2 months after the Great Battle, the Alliance flagship looked very different. The once sterile corridors now featured dedicated spaces for Earth animals, and the sound of paws on metal decking had become commonplace. In the newly established Animal Integration Command Center, Williams watched as Max trained with 3 other dogs, a Border Collie, a German Shepherd, and a Belgian Malinois. Each wore a refined version of the neural interface collar that had helped win the battle. Their group awareness is remarkable, Dr. Blue noted, monitoring their combined sensory feed. They work together naturally, each covering different sectors of space. The Alliance had moved quickly after their victory. Once they saw how effective Max had been, they launched a full-scale program to incorporate Earth animals into their fleet operations. Dogs were just the beginning. The cats are showing promise too, reported a junior scientist. Different specialties, though. They seem to detect energy fluctuations our instruments miss completely. On the main display, they could see the results of their latest breakthrough. A merged tactical view combining input from multiple animal species. Dogs tracked spatial distortions, cats monitored energy patterns, and birds helped predict gravitational shifts. Earth's animals evolved these abilities over millions of years, Dr. Blue explained to a group of visiting Alliance officials. Each species developed unique ways of perceiving their environment. We just never realized these skills would translate to space. The security chief, now one of the program's strongest supporters, added, "We were so focused on advancing our technology that we forgot to look at what nature had already perfected." The changes weren't limited to military applications. In another section of the ship, researchers worked with dolphins in specially designed tanks, using their natural sonar abilities to map complex spatial phenomena. Elephants, with their ability to detect infrasound, helped monitor the health of ship engines. "Every week we discover new applications," Williams said proudly. "These animals aren't just sensors, they're partners." The Alliance Council had formally recognized Earth's contribution to galactic security. The planet's status had been elevated, and primitive was no longer a word used to describe Earth's approach to technology. Max, now wearing the insignia of Fleet Security Advisor, led his team through another training exercise. The 4 dogs worked in perfect coordination, their combined awareness creating a detailed map of the surrounding space. "We're getting reports from the border patrols," the security chief announced. "No sign of the enemy attempting to return. The animal-enhanced detection grid is working perfectly." But perhaps the most significant change was in the Alliance's philosophy. The integration of Earth's animals had challenged their fundamental assumptions about intelligence and technology. "We're establishing training centers on several worlds," Dr. Blue shared excitedly, "teaching Alliance species how to work with Earth animals. Some of our younger members are even starting to keep pets of their own." The flagship's nursery now included a therapy dog, and Alliance children were growing up understanding the special bond between humans and animals that they had once dismissed. In the observation deck, Williams found Max sitting by the window, watching the stars. The dog's presence had become a symbol of the new partnership between Earth and the Alliance. "We've come a long way from them calling you useless, haven't we, boy?" Williams said, scratching behind Max's ears. The dog wagged his tail once, then returned to his vigilant watch. Through the neural interface, his awareness extended far into space, part of a growing network of Earth animals, helping to protect the galaxy. Dr. Blue joined them, holding new data from the latest training sessions. "We're just beginning to understand the potential here," he said. "Each Earth species brings something unique to space exploration. Together, they're helping us see the universe in entirely new ways." As if to prove his point, Max suddenly perked up, his interface showing a new pattern forming in the distance. But this time, instead of danger, he was detecting something else: unexplored spatial corridors that might lead to new discoveries. The Alliance had learned its lesson. The future of space exploration would combine the best of advanced technology with the natural abilities that evolution had spent millions of years perfecting. And it all started because they underestimated one Earth dog. Max looked up at Williams, his tail wagging slightly. There were new adventures waiting, and Earth's useless pets would help lead the way.